How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. So, while the game loads, I was hoping it was going to load a little bit faster. But, while it loads, the last thing we worked on was continuing the highway project around the map, which has made pretty good progress. However, have had to not make as much progress in Satisfactory as I would have liked, particularly just because I've been busy this last week with some things, and I'm gonna be busy for the next couple of weeks with some things. So Satisfactory episodes are probably gonna slow to a pretty slow crawl. Doesn't mean the series is dead. It just means they're gonna slow down a little bit. And why is this taking for literally ever? Oh, did it freeze? Oh, okay. Um, as we progress through some things, oh, there it goes. Okay. So one of the things I want to work on is our smelting capacity, because we are kind of getting to the point where we need all of the resources. Game, don't have a stroke. We're kind of getting to that point where we need all of the ingots that we're producing here for all of the various projects that we have planned. Now, one of the things I want to do is, I know in the previous episodes we did cover the new train depot that I'm constructing in the main base, so that way we can handle a ton of new items that we produce around the map. Well, I also want to improve how we do trains over there. So like right now we have one copper, one iron, and so on. Well, I want to make sure that we are able to actually get enough iron and stuff over there, so I want to make same thing with the copper and steel to a degree. I want to make sure that our manifolds are working. So since we now have upgraded belts and things with the tier 5 belts, we can get it down to be split 50-50, so 600 and 600. Here, this is the older design where we had each one go into one, and then we had to merge it, and then we had to do like weird squirrely stuff on these back 10 to get them in. Well, now we're able to just do two and two. So these are the kind of new designs that I'm going for. The iron I set up all last night, and then we also got not that button, EQ game. We got in 1.1. There's some new architecture things, I believe. I don't know if these are new. I know something was new. I don't know. We have more stuff, but the main thing I wanted to look at was in the logistics tab. All the way down here, we now have a throughput calculator. This thing has been awesome because I've been utilizing it to diagnose which belts are what purity, which is really nice, or at least how much quantity wise. So if we go over here, maybe. So notice, it tells you, it takes a second to work. So for instance, if we copy one, if the game doesn't want to have a stroke. We don't have any more. Okay, well, let's delete this one. So if I put one right here, it starts out at, I believe, like, not a round amount, but it takes a second to calibrate. So as you see, there's a period of time for stuff that it needs to go through, so it doesn't just instantly know how much the throughput is, because it's dynamic. So if, in this case, we're only currently consuming 49 a minute, here it's adjusting, so this one should also say 49 a minute. But then, when it's fully going through, it tells you how much is there. I will say one thing I wish... Oh, I didn't actually realize there was a graph. That's good to know. So if we look here, a couple things I will say I wish was different with this. I wish it was like Factorio. I wish I could change my time scale, that I could see, well, what's my production 10 minutes ago? What's it over the last hour? So that I can kind of get a sense of things. But I mean, I guess this is fine. The other thing I wish is it told me both how much is going through right now currently, but also what is its potential. I know its maximum is related to whatever the belt is, but I want to know what's its maximum based on the amount of items going through it, but I suppose that might be a little bit difficult. Either way, it's good to be able to diagnose things, to figure out, okay, why am I not getting enough? Because in this game, there's not really a production tab like you have in Factorio. That is one thing I will give Factorio over Satisfactory, is I feel like you have a little bit more control over the statistics that your factory has, whereas in this, you kind of have to know what you're building and you have to kind of just know it rather than the game providing it for you. So over here, you can see that we have our 2 copper manifolds, and then we have room over here for our two or 3 steel. I can't remember what we planned out. I think 3 steel. But regardless, we are going to want to make sure that our copper is doing its best. Now, I think we have all the copper in this zone. And I'll have to double check it if I can actually get out of here. The other thing we got in between episodes is we did the research for alien power, nuclear power. These things are massive, like, just massive, massive things. A couple things, though, is we need the, what are those things? Supercomputers, which produce very, very slowly, which I did just get set up, like, in a very bootstrapped setup in the main base. But right now, it's not fully automated. I have to plug in all the resources for it because I don't think I currently have everything plugged in, which kind of sucks. And then we also need to do, I think that high-speed connectors, but I think everything for the high-speed connectors are connected. We are having plastic issues. Part of that is because I forgot to connect half of our power grid. Actually, more than that. I forgot to connect 80% of our power production over on the oil rig, so I connected that up last night. So if we look here at the power really quick, we now have a production capacity. It was higher, it's lower now, but we have a production capacity of about 9,000 because we want to burn off all the fuel so that way we can generate residual plastic, and then the residual plastic can turn into actual plastic. So if we look, oh, it's not in this one, it's in this one. So if we go, I think it's over this floor. I was thinking we could add a few more of those hubs probably here, probably like 3 more, but I don't know how the spacing will work for the rail because we need enough space on the outside on both sides so that way we have transport. So right now what I have is I have just one machine producing supercomputers via computers, AI limiters, high-speed connectors, and plastic. Now I'm manually feeding this thing its components. I haven't connected those up because last night I was like, I just want to get the research done so that way hopefully today we can kind of go over it. This is almost fully connected. I believe the only thing that isn't is cable, but we're not producing cable over here. I think the only place we're producing cable is in the other building, which I do need to actually connect to this. And then here we have computers. I'm pretty sure we have AI limiters. Obviously, the high-speed connectors are right next to it, and then plastic. So all of those resources are already in the facility. The problem with the way that I'm building this building is I'm not building it with the idea that everything is going to have its own dedicated raw resource input. And when we need more of like the raw resources here, we just add more. I think what we're going to probably end up doing is reconfiguring this a little bit because we are approaching max capacity for what we can sufficiently house here. Just as all 18 belts are more or less filled at this point. We're like, there's a couple, like there's that one, there's this one, and then this one's going to be cable. So there's really only 2 left. So our options are either upgrade these belts, which obviously would double capacity for us, which is only temporary. But most of these products, for instance here, are output products, so they're outbound. They're leaving this building, going into the mall here, and only a handful of products on this row are going into this building, which I kind of want to reconfigure a little bit, because originally we had this here going in, and we kind of had this lobby thing going. So I think our project is going to be redoing this room a little bit, as well as just reconfiguring how we handle the logistics between these 2 buildings, because obviously this is squirrely. Like, I don't mind how it's coming down here, but I don't like how it's going from 3 wide, 4 tall to 4 wide, 3 tall, so we kind of need to reconfigure that a little bit. And just kind of this end cap. I'm not really a fan of how this looks. It just is very boxy and plain, so I do think we are going to have to reconfigure this a little bit, as well as how we're taking in resources. And I already know I've talked about reconfiguring this front section quite a lot, because it really does look very squirrely, and part of that is my fault, because this is built on a local grid, and then... Oh, this is also built on a local grid, which slightly curves, so there are some things we need to change there with those two things. So I think today is going to focus primarily on this building and just some logistical overhauls while we work to construct some things. But the other logistical nightmare, and I'm sure you guys have seen it in the episodes, is this floor. And, you know, this floor, we've talked about it before. It's doing its job. It is literally a hideaway for all the little rats' nests, all the clipping and nightmarish. Like, this corner is literally a rat's nest, but that's partially because we have our input and output lanes here also on top of or inside of production lines. Like, this is just a literal nightmare here. So that is very much my fault for that. Just trying to think of what we can do in order, because I want to clean that up quite a lot, and I want to clean this up because we're going to hit capacity, because a lot of our production is in this building right now. So we're kind of left with a few options. Option one, we move how we're connecting this building to this building. Option two, we spread out the production of this building to other locations, whether that's putting things in this building and traversing them through a different conduit, or just building a whole nother building altogether. That's another thing, is that building over there has, I believe the top 2 floors are completely empty, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, top 2 floors are completely empty. The bottom 2 are pretty full. But I think that building is going to continue producing the squares there, just because it makes sense. We'll do the next tier of square here, and then nuclear pasta or whatever it is, maybe up here even. As for this building, we have quite a few things, and we also have like this little production thing, which is fine. This is just producing all our concrete, and then I believe there are a handful of belts, yeah, that terminate. They don't actually go anywhere, so there is some ore that just isn't making its way over there. So there's quite a few things to do. I know we can... what is the hotkey for control keybinds? Sir, I'm pretty sure there's a hotkey for notes or whatever on the side. Player movement. No menu crafting. Because I'm pretty sure there is menus. It's not that. Because, like, tab... Because, like, it's this, our to-do list here. Because I know we can have notes and other things. So, like, we need to redo Logi on main building. We also need to redo Logi to smelting. Great. Belts. Belts to smelting. Clean up Logi floor. Wall. Like, these are just some things that I'm immediately thinking of. If there's anything else you guys can think of that I should do and add to this to-do list, definitely put it down below. Because then, that way it's there on the side of our screen. I mean, I normally have a notebook. Actually, my notebook is still on my desk. Where I put these things in. I do it for, like, Minecraft or Factorio. Just so I have an idea of, like, okay, what are some things to work on? Because, like, in my brain, I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I need to do this. Because then I look at it as a checklist and then just work my way down it. Oh, yeah. So let's take a look down here. and kind of start prepping this space for renovation. Because I think we're going to use this section of the base. Likely what I'm thinking is we might extend this upwards. So let's just go ahead and remove the roof to it. Okay. So now we have something like this that's a bit more exposed. Now, I know we have a lot of items going here. In and out, which is fine. I'm thinking what we might end up doing is... Here, let's come up with a proof of concept for this section. Let's just remove this glass. That should be fine. What I'm thinking is, because this section is basically clear to my knowledge on almost all the floors. I think what we do is, so if we just keep going... Oh, a little bit of lag. Okay. Yes, it is... It's almost clear. This is the one section where it is not clear. At least right here in this corner, which is fine. What I'm thinking is, so like on this floor, we have input belts of resources. So things that are coming into this building, we can put here on the left-hand side or right-hand side, depending on which way you're facing. And then that gives us a maximum of... What? Let's see, we could push them back. Connect them to that glass if we wanted to. Okay. So we could do 1, 2, like that. Because then what this does is it still gives us a walkway here, so we still have like a path that we can walk. Not that we need it, because technically we don't have to put in any way for us to actually walk up here and access any of these machines, but it's nice knowing that we have the ability to, so when we need to service something, whether it's going in and adding some overclock, or adding somber sloops, or just simply changing out a recipe, it's a lot easier than having to deconstruct like the floor like we had to do here just to kind of get a better visual. But then what I'm thinking is, so we do something like this. Obviously that would shift over just so it lines up a little bit nicer. And then we could have an internal layer. So this gives us a walkway, inputs, internal export, or internal and then this one is export. Maybe. But if we access this over here, if we use this section and we make it go taller, we have a lot more room to do things like this, where if we need to route something really squirrely, we can kind of hide it off to the side logistically and make it a little bit easier and cleaner on that building, so we don't have this where it's blocking this floor right here, as you can see, where it makes it kind of difficult to do any service right here. So what I'm thinking is we need to find a floor in this building, ideally that has nothing in it already, that we can run more logistical things through. Or part of the building that can do that. This floor could work. Because this floor, well, could work on this floor too, actually. Because this floor is taking in items. And then from the mall, that's the only concern, though, is this production. Unless, option 1, we either move all of this from this floor up to this floor, or the other option, we move the logistical nightmare that is a lot of stuff on this floor higher. Because how many... Let's see, so we have, what? I think there's like 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Somebody correct me if that number's off. So 25 on one side. So that's upwards of 25 of these. Without doing anything squirrely. So 2, 4. So we can do 10 here. And we just said there's 25, right? So then, hypothetically, let's remove these. So we do 1, 2, 3. Like that. That gives us some play here, so that we can throw in splitters and stuff if we need to. And then... Actually, I guess it wouldn't quite look like that. How would we do it? Where are the little under these things? Right here. Okay. So we design... Come on. It's really not going to connect to that? Maybe not. Yeah, connect right there. So then... There we go. And this is just to kind of give proof of concept, nothing finite yet. Okay, so we do something like that. And then... The only issue that I see with this, though, is... So if you look at how low this hangs, like if we look here, we could go with that. Right. So if we put the... We do 5 wide. And then we just route them upwards from here. So for instance, the first 5 are the top ones, right? So the first 5 are those. Then this one routes up. So like, what's the next one of these? Right, so then this guy would route up to that one. And then this one would route, say, from here up to that one. So then we could still access all the things. It keeps this side of the floor clean. And then from there, it heads over there. Now, that kind of solves this. The only... Well, it's not the only issue that I see with this problem. Is the logistical nightmare, though. We still need a connection from this side to this side. Is my only concern. Now we do have the elevator now, which does help significantly with that. And I already know we have a good chunk of internal things. I believe they're on the floor above us. I'm not mistaken, yeah. Okay. So if we head up to the one right above us, maybe, Mr. Elevator, there it is. Okay, I need to go 1 floor above to general production. Okay. So, for instance, we have a lot of these items, which, actually, how are these getting up here? Oh, they are part of the logi. Okay. So, for instance, right now we have this monstrosity in the middle of the floor, which is fine. I think it's that's fine. For the most part. And the reason I say that is because what we can do is we can stagger it. So if we... Is that the center of the building? I think it is. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So then 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. So then we can do one here. I guess let's not do it there, let's do it from the roof. Okay, so we can do 4 wide. And then because we're doing 5 wide, we'll do something like this. So it ends up being 10 wide total. And we know we need it to be 3 deep, basically. So this is a case where these ones go first. And then Logi, where is logistics? So we can put the hangers like this. And we can do something like that. Now, that gives us the ability to have 3 tiers of item. And it's a little bit easier to trace the item. Now, it did look like there, on these at least, we could maybe do some really odd compressions and almost save one whole thing. Now, I don't quite know how that would work. Obviously, this one looks like it's going to connect there. Top one connects there, and we're left with some really interesting ability. I don't know if we would be able to. I mean, we might be able to, but then it'd have to be something really janky like that, and then we'd have to go back through and delete. So, like, we could do it. If we really wanted to, we could compress it down to that height. I kind of like the expanded view, because then I can see... And also, then we can actually put these production trackers here, so we can see what our flow rates are. I think I like that. Okay, so that solves this building's issue. Kind of. So now, we need to figure out that building's issue. And honestly, it's just easier for me to break glass than wait. I keep hitting the new Discord hotkey. I know I talked about it at one point, but it is irritating. Okay, so that handles logistics to and from this building, and it gives us this floor, which... You know what? Yeah, we could. It does mean we're going to have to probably push this whole apparatus this way. I think we're going to just take this wall that would have been here and push it here. And then take out these windows. There is this option of using this, but then that limits us to 3, right? Or we use the new conveyor holes. And instead, I will say one thing I'm not a fan of, and I guess I know why they're doing it, because then you'd have to modify the mesh, but I wish I could see through it. Like, I like that I can see through these, I can pass through these, but we know that obviously, there's an unlimited potential for how much we actually need in this building, and some of those items are going to come in via these rail networks up here. So we're not going to have to necessarily worry about, like, every single item. And in all honesty, we might transfer some of that. Like, the iron and copper trains, those might come in on that. However, the design there with the hub, and I think we talked about it in that episode, is each segment is going to be a different item. So each hub is going to be 3 different items, potentially. So that gives us 5 hubs or 15 different items that could be imported to this building. Whereas this is just iron and copper, and then the main store, this actually is technically the oil rigs. So this is rubber and plastic. But that could, of course, be something that we maybe switch over. I'm not entirely happy with this upper section, but it's a lot of it's just a work in progress, I think. So right now, I think that's going to be the plan, is to utilize these. Because then it gives us a lot more options, to say the least. As you can see, we can fit quite a few of these in the same area that we'd only previously be able to fit 6. So instead of fitting 6 access ports, we're now able to fit, what is that, 4 times 5? We can fit 20. So that is considerably more. And then what that allows us to do is putting it on this floor, because it's too high, or 8 meters high. Actually, it's higher than that. Yeah, it is higher than that. It's 10 meters high. We have so much room that we can do just a lot of different things with. Because we can put these in. Obviously, these are on the floor. So I might not put them that low. What we might end up doing is we're going to put them at a reasonable height, like something like that. Because then that way, yeah, this can sit on the floor. Like that. And then that way it looks pretty good. So anyway, if you guys have any tips, tricks, comments, concerns, or anything else, definitely leave that down below. And what are your guys' solutions when it comes to moving things between buildings that you have, especially ones that are this close? Do you typically just have one big building and don't really worry about it, or do you just kind of hide it under the rug, kind of like what I was doing with some of these rooms? But as you can see, I think we've outgrown the space and we need to upgrade. Or do you guys do something else entirely? Definitely leave your guys' solutions down below. Oh, maybe you can see through this. What? It is hollow. I'm baffled. Anyway. This will probably be the last Satisfactory episode for a little while. That's why it's partially a little bit longer than it has been. Series isn't dead. The series is going to continue. It's just I'm not going to be able to do both this and Factorio at the same time for a little bit. Factorio is also going on pause. However, that's a lot easier to make meaningful progress in. That doesn't, because I've played it before, so I don't have to have as much brain power into it as I do with this. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you guys did, you guys know what to do. I'll see you guys probably, there'll be another Satisfactory episode in 3 weeks. Should be in 3 weeks. So probably in August, I would expect the next Satisfactory. There might be one before then, but probably August. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Peace out.